an entire new international leadership structure is forming in the absence of American leadership. And that's also not to mention, of course, the other economic stuff that's inextricably intertwined with foreign policy, which is it looks like the international community is dumping treasury bonds and moving away from the dollar and moving towards the euro, the yen, anything other than the United States of America. And what's Trump doing? He went to UFC fights last night. He was golfing. He was taking photos of himself next to like gold statues of himself in Florida while he was vacationing again on the taxpayer dollar. Let's just go through some of these things because none of this stuff is getting the attention it deserves. The first thing I want to share with you, let's start with Trump's envoy to Russia, Witkoff, putting his hand over his heart, and you can judge for yourself what you think this gesture is. Here, play this clip. How horrifying, right? To me, that makes Helsinki look tame. Now, shows you that Donald Trump has no clue of the way like these alliances are. So Donald Trump's trying to curry favor with Putin for nothing in return, but Putin is in an alliance with Iran to attack Ukraine and to get the drones from Iran. So you have Russia protecting Iran, then you have Trump who is trying to get on Putin's good side and sucking up to Putin, but then telling Iran that the United States, is going to attack Iran and saying language that would seem to indicate that the United States is going to start a war with Iran. I mean, listen to Donald Trump's chief propagandist, the reckless, disastrous chief propagandist, Caroline Leavitt, talk about war with Iran. You can hear her in your own words. Here, play this clip.
Security team will as well, that all options are on the table, and Iran has a choice to make. You can agree to President Trump's demand, or there will be all hell to pay, and that's how the president feels. He feels very strongly about it. And can you...
Right, so Trump has no clue of the kind of geopolitical relationships that are at play here. I want to talk about now Hegseth and what looks like a shadow war on Panama. And that's what the opposition party in Panama is calling it, and I think rightfully as well. Remember at the beginning of the video, though, I talked about how it seems that there was a lot of distractions, because I bet you the stuff that I'm talking about here, you didn't even really hear much about, huh? I mean, a lot of the news that's getting out there is clouding our ability to synthesize real important information. So I'm often asked, well, Ben, how do you do your research? Like, where are you finding this stuff from? And what research tools do you use? I use something called Ground News. I use their blind spot feature, and I'm always looking to see what are people on the right using, what are people on the left using, what's on the center. Are people not covering certain stories? So I use Ground News. You should go check it out as well at ground.news/MTN. ground.news/MTN, or scan the QR code right here. We're giving our viewers 40% off Ground News top tier Vantage plan, which will get you unlimited access to everything that I use, that I'm telling you about, the research tools I use and more. Ground News is subscriber funded, so they don't rely on ads. That could also introduce bias, and subscribing supports our channel and their independent team working to keep the media transparent. So check it out. Ground.news/MTN. One more time, ground.news/MTN, one of the big research tools that I use, and go and check that out because, as I mentioned before, they've got that 40% off Ground News top tier Vantage plan. All right, back to my video right here, and thank you, Ground News. Let me show you what Pete Hegseth said at that cabinet meeting that took place this week that lots of people covered, we covered as well. But I want to focus on specifically what he talks about as it relates to Panama. Here, play this clip.
That's something you said, we're taking back the canal. China said too much influence. Obama and others let them creep in. We, along with Panama, are pushing them out, sir. And so we had a very successful trip there. President Molino sends his regards, very complimentary of the U.S. as he's a great ally, and I think they want the communist Chinese out. And with our troops there partnering with their forces, we've got a chance to push them all the way out, sir.
We've moved a lot of troops to Panama and filled up some areas that we used to have, and we didn't have any longer, but we have them now. And I think it's in very good control, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. I mean, that's war language right there. So what it seems that's taken place is they tried to bully Canada. We're going to annex you and conquer you. Canada didn't submit. They tried to do the same with Europe. They've been threatening Panama and Greenland, but Greenland's protected by Denmark and the European Union. So now it seems that, Trump's got, he's got bloodthirst right now, right? He's a maniac. He's got bloodthirst. He wants to destroy international markets. He wants conquest. He wants war, it seems. So he's scared. So I think he views Panama as one of the weakest links. And so that's why he's, I think, going after Panama as well. But also Trump is also scared of Xi Jinping of China. And by the way, Xi Jinping of China is also, in my view, helping Russia. So Trump has no clue what the hell's even going on here. So Will Freeman, someone who went to Panama recently, and he wrote this great report for americasquarterly.org. He goes, I just got back from Panama. Trump's aggressive bid to split the country from China is weakening an already fragile pro-U.S. conservative government there. As Trump extracts concessions, Panama's government is becoming less popular and less able to deliver on U.S. asks. From this past week, there are headlines like this. Panama's opposition party accuses the U.S. of a camouflaged invasion. U.S. now deploying troops along Panama Canal under a new deal. The U.S. will deploy troops along the Panama Canal for training exercises and other activities under a joint deal that stops short of allowing the U.S. to build bases in Panama, but is still a major concession to U.S. President Donald Trump. At least it's being reported there. But with everything, the concession backfires. The opposition party in Panama is saying this is a camouflage invasion right here. And then I think you see a lot of people saying, oh, you add this together. Oh, Donald Trump has Bukele here in the United States this week. At the same time, Abrego Garcia has been ordered to be returned. And then Donald Trump is not facilitating the return of Abrego Garcia, but pumping up Bukele. What kind of message do you think that sends to the European Union and to our former allies? What do you think it sends to them when Donald Trump sends Steve Witkoff to Russia and he puts his hand over his heart and fawns over Vladimir Putin? What kind of message do you think when Donald Trump puts the United States military around Panama? I mean, these are the types of actions that like Russia does with Ukraine. And this is what the United States has become, an authoritarian regime. And I think we just have to call it out for what it is. And just so you see how weak and pathetic Donald Trump is, you have Xi Jinping at the end of last week calling Donald Trump a bully as China imposes staggering new tariffs on the United States and said, look, we're only going to do 125% because at this point, your markets are basically shut down. I mean, the Chinese markets are shut down from the U.S. accessing it. So, it's just foolish at this point. And what did Donald Trump do? He didn't announce it, but he had U.S. Customs and Border Protection announce that phones and other electronics are now exempt from the new tariffs. Again, caving again. While all of this is happening, take a look at this chart right here. You see Europeans traveling to the U.S. is falling quick. Same way the Canada boycott, 50, 60, 70% boycott. Some people say 20%. I've seen 40%. I've seen travel agents say 90%. I think the Canadian boycott of U.S. tourism is closer to 50, 60, I think getting into the 80%. But take a look at this chart right here. The U.S. was one of the world's top travel spots, pulling in over 72 million visitors last year and generating 1.3 trillion. But lately, travel from Europe and Canada is down by up to 35%. Thanks to Trump's talk and scary border stories, meaning kidnapping people, disappearing them, sending them to concentration camps in El Salvador. And while all of this is going on, Donald Trump invites Nayib Bukele to the United States for a state visit, rolls out the red carpet for the authoritarian leader of El Salvador this week, while all of this is going on, while the United States Supreme Court says, bring back Abrego Garcia from El Salvador, Trump goes, we can't do it. We're not going to follow the order. And you've got Bukele right there.